So we have Miss Shawnda McNeal out here. Shawnda, she had me on her podcast, Intentionally Disruptive podcast.
Yeah.
Super awesome podcast, actually, by the way.
Yeah. And me.
Yeah,
Remember?
I had both of you.
Yeah, that was super fun.
I was your in, right?
That's true. We're like, well, we had Mr. Build It. Gotta get his wife on.
I gave Shawnda $20. I was like, can you please just like, you don't have to like.
Make her feel so good.
The thing is, whenever I was introduced to Mr. Build It, I was like, I ended up, stumbling upon your Instagram as well. And I'm like, wow, we just finished up our podcast studio. That kind of seems like her type of design. So I obviously begged him to get you on. So that's kind of really the real story behind it.
So they used you to get to me.
So
that's
sort of
how it worked.
I think that's how it worked. Yeah.
Irina was like, how are they? I was like, they're great. She's like, okay, fine, I'll go on.
That was my first podcast, actually.
Oh,
I'd ever
really?
been on. Yeah.
Oh, you did so well.
She was really so nervous. Harsh on herself after the podcast.
No, it was so good. And the whole reason, that I wanted you on, we had some girls in the office that followed both of you, and we were doing an influencer series. And so I kind of wanted to know the nitty gritty behind the influencer type thing, because, you guys have a ton of followers.
Fun to hear too.
And and just the experience of building your career and your life around being an influencer. So I was just glad to have you guys on.
Well, you're in the influencer space now too. You're an influencer.
I mean, I guess I've been an influencer. I've never labeled myself that, but for, I don't know, the last 22, 23 years, I kind of, I was kind of in that beginning phase of when the influencer term started, I guess, and not even realizing that I was. But, my career started in radio, morning radio. So, I got into radio when I was 15 years old. And worked in
was that like school radio? Is that a 15? Where do you
Well, no, I actually worked in like the real deal radio.
Really? Oh, you did?
Yeah. In my hometown, I read the Farmer's Report.
Heck yeah.
And so I started out there reading the news on the weekends, and I was the mascot for the radio station. I dressed up as a bumblebee for the state fair. Anything I could do to get involved with the radio station, any airtime I could get, I wanted to do it. So that's all I've ever wanted to do. I've known what I wanted to do from the age of 9, 10. And so when I had the opportunity, I was like following around all the radio guys. Any chance I got, I had run into him, with my mom at a restaurant. I'm like, oh, there's Mike Smith. I got to talk to him. He's one that does the play-by-play at the basketball games, And so I just knew from a young age that's what I wanted to do. And the first chance I got, I just jumped on it. And so I ended up going to school in Minneapolis to one of the best broadcasting schools in the country, Brown College, and got my first full-time gig in Minneapolis. And the rest is history. I moved all over the country doing morning radio, and it was like my thing.
So you're this 9-year-old girl that like your heroes are these like announcers and radio jockeys.
Everybody else, all your friends are like, who are you talking about?
Right? They're all about like Destiny's Child, Beyonce. Like how dare like Beyonce get more airtime than Kelly Rowland? Like that was like the whole thing. Like Kelly, you team Kelly, team Beyonce, and for me, I was all about Mike Smith. And it's funny because years later, my hometown did a whole newspaper article on me and about my career and things like that, because I've done some pretty cool stuff, and so the newspaper got wind of all of it and did this whole thing, and they quoted Mike Smith, and Mike Smith's like, because he's still doing radio in my hometown still to this day. Oh yeah, and so they reached out to him like, hey, could we get a quote from you? And he's like, I've done nothing like that. I've done nothing. He stayed in our hometown, and it's like a little farming community of like 22,000 people. So he's like, what do I say? He's like, I really helped her with, reading the news report and the farmer's report, and I gave her copy, but that's really my only, I guess he didn't realize how much of an impact he had on my life.
Right.
And then every time I go back home, we'll go to lunch and we'll talk, and he's like, man, every time we meet, I realize how boring my career has been. I was like, but it's been spectacular to me. So,
What was it about Mike that made you, as a young girl, to be like, wow, he's influential in my life?
He's the only guy. He was the only person on the radio. He was.
Because it's a small town,
Yeah, he was the head guy. Like, he did everything. He did the sports play-by-play. He did music. He did all of it. He did the news.
It was just him.
It was just him. And there's a couple other people, but he's the main guy. Like, everybody loves Mike Smith. Like, he went to my church as well. So that made it, easy to kind of, stalk him and hunt him down to get me on the radio. But I wanted to learn everything from him. And the radio station was out, like at this time, like a double wide trailer on top of a hill. It was just like this crappy little place, and that's where he worked out of, and any chance I got, I would go. And
did you have as a little girl? Because you have a very like specific radio voice. Like you have a very like a public speaking voice.
Okay, yeah.
And it's very soothing on the ears. Like it's very. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's I've heard.
Do you
that
get
before.
that a lot?
Yeah.
You do it. Yeah.
So did you have a particular moment, like at 9? Did you have a very like a specific cadence to you, or?
Well, based off like what my family has said to me, they're like from the moment you were like out of the womb, we knew you're going to do something with entertainment, or public speaking, radio. I mean, they really couldn't pinpoint it, but I never, to be honest with you, when I was in college, I had a professor tell me that I would have to like smoke cigarettes because women get a bad rap in radio, especially, and just broadcasting in general. And so we're targeted as being annoying, high pitched laughs, squealy voice, all this stuff. So we're really we're kind of judged on a bigger level than more so than men. Have you ever seen the movie Anchorman?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Based
a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm referencing Anchorman now, but so they told me actually for me to get rid of the high pitched female voice, I would have to like smoke a bunch of cigarettes and all those things. I didn't smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
And so they said that, Katie Couric.
Did you try though, where there's like a snaggy part?
I've never smoked a cigarette in my life.
Really? Oh,
never.
you would love cigarettes.
I don't feel like you have
kidding.
a very high pitched voice.
Well,
though.
I did.
Yeah.
So what I did was I just took some vocal lessons and just kind of softened my voice a little bit. And it's almost like it's just become my thing. Like
So you were taught this?
Yeah. Like,
Really?
yeah. As far as like enunciating and things like that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
How long did you have to do that for?
I don't know, about 2 years, I would say, like on and off, about 2 years.
That's crazy.
But yeah, no, I just learned how to, because again, so on top of that, growing up in Southern Ohio, I said, you ain't gonna go do that. I was a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Like, and I love where I'm from. I'm so proud of where I'm from. But I said, you're fixing to go to the store. Like, I was a straight up hillbilly. So, and I talked to my grandparents and my mom now, I'll find myself for a couple of days after getting on the phone with them that I'll talk like them again. I'm like, oh. So I was like, I have to start all over again, right? And
comes back.
It comes back. But so not only did I have to kind of work on enunciating and making sure that I was softening my voice a little bit to not be high pitched. And then my voice has never been high pitched, but I just had to learn my even, I don't know, I guess balance my voice out to where it's not, not high pitched. It's
like not all over the place.
Yeah, it's just not all over the place, right? But I had to work on my dialect too. So I had like I had multiple things to work on.
Really?
Yeah.
What are some of the exercises? Well, it's likewise. Like as you're talking,
I was just as you were talking, I was like, oh, that'd be like kind of nice to learn and. I don't know, take those vocal lessons. Because when we listen back to our podcast, as immigrants, like there's certain times where I have a hard time saying a word, especially if I'm nervous or I'm on the spot.
Yeah.
And I listen back and I'm like, oh, why did I say it like that? That's so bad. Or I have to repeat a word like 3 times because it doesn't come out the way I want it to. And I feel like you feel the same way.
100%.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have this thing where I always tell people, like my inner volume doesn't match my outer volume. And so like when we first started dating or when we first got married, we would go to dinner and she knows when I'm excited about something, like I get louder and animated.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too.
And
totally.
And she's like, hey, it's just us here. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just
I think I would like shush you actually a little bit before.
Yeah.
I communicate by yelling, and like people don't realize when I'm like pumped up, I'm the same way. I'll get super amped, and people think that I'm coming from like I'm either angry, mad, or just over the top passionate. But that's just how I communicate. I communicate loud, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I guess I just wasn't used to it. Growing up, my family was very quiet. Everybody was very like soft spoken. So he just like is passionate and gets excited, and I would be like, shh.
Yeah. Her family's monotone and content.
Yeah. No.
But now I feel like either I love it and got used to it, or I've matched your level.
I think you've matched it because
you guys balance each other out really well.
Well, I think this podcast really kind of helped her flourish because with me, like I've been on camera for like enough time with YouTube that I'm like, hey, I know how to flip a switch on.
It's your comfort zone.
It's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
With
absolutely.
her, it's like she had to kind of flourish, and we'd have to have like a little like kind of like a pep talk, be like, hey, just focus on this, focus on that, and then now, you meet me where I'm at.
Yeah, it's definitely like a growing process of learning how to speak and be, I don't know, confident. And
well, it's weird. It's funny you guys say that. I think being like in radio, and obviously I always did top 40 radio, music, fun, energetic type, but I also had to cover like some pretty crazy stuff, right? Like music stopped, we had to cover things. That's where all my logic kind of went out the window. I forgot the voice lessons. I forgot all that stuff. An example, 9/11 was the first thing that I covered in college. And that was in college. Yeah. I was working in Minneapolis, and you forget everything that you know. And all of a sudden you're this vulnerable hillbilly from Southern Ohio. And then going into the shootings over in, was it Connecticut? Those types of things you forget. I mean, you're like cussing.
Yeah,
we can't.
It's like out of that like comfort zone where you're
completely removed, and now you're just an emotional American wanting to fight people, right? So like you're just like I don't know. You go from like this really professional broadcaster to a straight up country ghetto hillbilly wanting to fight everyone, right? Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I've struggled with that type of thing, and just my human side, right? And they don't want you to show your human side when you're in. They want you to just get the facts across and things like that. So I don't know, but that's like the only time I think I've ever really, I don't know, like kind of shut down and forgot everything that I know.
Besides those moments, like, do you feel like it's easy to turn that off, like the human side, I guess? And
well, we're kind of forced to in a way because our jobs were to go on and share our lives, but share our lives after we've processed it.
Yes.
We're not getting.
It's not right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like not super emotional. Our job is to make people happy and play music that they love and things like that. So that. I think the older I got, the harder it got for me. At first it was, super, it was easy because I was, it's like you want to be on the radio so bad and you'll do whatever you need to do. But yeah, no, like you're supposed to share your life, but just to a certain point, I think, or after you process it.
But that window of processing though. So do you get to, as a broadcaster, do you see these news well in advance, or is it kind of like, hey, you showed up to the office, what are we running today? Well, so-and-so.
No, we have it already.
You have it already.
Yeah. And like a 9/11 situation, like it was in the morning, and so in real time, I was getting the microphone up to the TV and turning the volume up, right? Like to make sure it got, like that was our way of broadcasting because it was happening during the show. Okay. So that was one of those situations where, it was all real time. It was all real time. Yeah. But like other things, we definitely have a 5-hour show planned well in advance. Gotcha. A little bit of creative, a little bit of lifestyle, a little bit of this and that, a lot of layers. So, yeah. So
no surprise there. But now the other part about turning it on and off is your vocal lessons. So is it something that's being forced every day and you have to focus on it? Like with
no, it just comes natural.
It just comes natural.
It comes natural now.
So now it's just so ingrained.
Like you said, the cameras go on, you turn it on. It's like boom, you're there.
But what about in the morning at the house, right?
Oh gosh, I'm my best in the morning. This is like where I'm like, this is nap time for me.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
So there's no catching off guard anymore. This is
no, like I had no idea. I'm like, I'm so grateful that you guys wanted me on, but I'm like, I had no clue. Like, what are we gonna talk about today? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like here I am, and here we are.
But it's like your vocal lessons, like your Southern, like is that permanent now? Or is
it's permanent. It's totally permanent. Yeah. I mean, being in the radio for as long as I was, now have my own podcast. I'm also the VP of communications for a wellness company, so I'm basically like the public spokesperson for our company. So I do this all the time. It's like I just show up and it's just like, I'm here. What do you want to do?
Well, it's kind of like when people take vocal lessons for singing, they learn to sing a certain way and they never go backwards to how they used to be, I guess.
Unless they talk to their Southern hillbilly family and then for temporary for a day. Yeah.
Just a bit.
I think for us, we'd have to get like multiple coaches because you got one to try to teach you to get this accent out of you.
Even just enunciating. I think that's what's hard for me sometimes, especially when I'm like trying to get something out and I'm still in the process of figuring out what I'm trying to say and then still speaking it. It's so hard for me.
Yeah, I have the immigrant with a lisp, with an accent,
and I don't hear your lisp. Education. What's this lisp you're talking about?
He grew out of it.
I see you.
Yeah. Well, I think that was my own
You grew out of it.
No, I didn't.
He coached himself.
I coached myself out,
which is still really good.
And the reason why, or at least the technique is, when you have a lisp and then you move to another country and you have an accent, you're trying to enunciate your words so that the lisp doesn't come out and therefore the accent goes with it. So it's very rare, at least to me, that I can hear an accent of mine, but a lot of times in my head, like right now we're speaking, I'm like, these things don't sound right.
Yeah. Well, and I think nowadays, I mean, when I got into radio forever ago, that was the thing to do. You wanted to sound like a broadcaster, and you wanted to have this deep, raspy female voice, and things like that. Now it's all about personality. So the more you stand out, like don't get rid of your lisp. If I don't hear it, but like, don't keep fighting to get rid of it. Like, keep it there because that adds character, right?
Right.
Like, you know, your
the
dialect
accent too.
The accent too. Yeah. It's like you sound different from everybody else. Whereas for a while, it's like you couldn't tell the difference between who was who because everybody sounded so perfect and enunciated so well. I mean, now it's just kind of ingrained in me. But if I could go back and if I were to start in radio today, I would keep that hillbilly accent.
Really?
That's like, oh yes,
so
it is a personality thing.
It is a personality. It's a character.
Today.
Yeah, you're a character. That's who you are. Why would we want to rip that away?
Right.
You know. So I would absolutely, if I were in radio now and just getting started, there's no way I would get rid of that accent.
It kind of makes sense how like Michael Vick with all the Michael Stranahan.
Michael Vick. Oh God! I was like, please let's not talk about Michael Vick.
And now
is he a radio host now?
Oh gosh!
We're moving on to the sports portion of the show.
Michael Strahan, is that right?
Yes.
His Gap, right?
Yeah.
All the millions of dollars that he made, he could easily get away, but he kept it because it made him who he is.
It made him a part. Yes, and I think he had a little bit of a lisp and things like. No, yeah, he is who he is, and that's his little staple.
Yes.
Thing. That's his character staple.
That's true.
So,
if you can own it and just have a great personality while you're doing it.
Absolutely. So don't change a thing.
Right.
Don't change anything. Be who you are.
Speak your truth. Live your truth.
Live your truth. Live, laugh, love, or whatever. whatever the sign.
Yeah, we're gonna get that above.
Yeah. Oh, please don't.
Right. In cursive.
Please don't. You'll be like everybody else.
Yes.
It's my spirit.
All the motivational posters everywhere.
Please don't.
So the radio industry, what's that like? Is it a cutthroat industry?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah?
Yes, it is so cutthroat. Again, especially for women. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Bombshell.
No.
You haven't.
Heard of it, but haven't seen it.
It's more focused on females, women in TV. But radio is super cutthroat. I mean, I worked in obviously small market radio in my hometown, all the way up to major market in Houston and Dallas, Minneapolis. And yeah, you definitely have to fight for your spot. And I think that's why I just kind of, I've been on radio, 2 years, not even. And I just was done because I wasn't that person that would, hurt another person to get my spot. Right. I just focused on talent and working hard and getting there. Work hard, be nice to people. Right. That's another quote.
Good motto.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Teddy Roosevelt says, "Speak softly, carry big stick."
Quote poster. Work hard, be nice to people.
Yeah.
And that was always like my philosophy. Well, longer I was in it, the worse it got because they started going syndication. So it made that was like less spots for people. Whereas when I first started, syndication really didn't exist. There wasn't, a chance for you to lose your job at a higher rate as it is now. I mean, my goodness, they're replacing you with interns and things like that. So
explain syndication. What's
syndication?
Use it in a sentence.
Listen, we know what it means, but we just like to explain for our
for everybody.
Listeners.
Yeah, no, got it. So syndication is where you could hear the same radio show in multiple cities, multiple states across the country. Big ones are like Elvis Duran, Bobby Bones. Bobby Bones, you could hear all over the country with country radio. Yeah. So whereas that never existed before, there was a spot. So he's probably in 87 markets, 87 different.
Is Delilah?
Delilah is another one. Yeah,
Shout out to Delilah.
Yeah. Shout out to Delilah. One of my favorites. Yes, she's still kicking on Light FM.
Awesome. Her voice now, that voice is.
Yes,
that voice will put you to sleep.
Yeah,
it will put you to sleep. She gets to do that out of her house. Like she has a farm, and I think she's in Washington. Yeah,
she runs a whole show from her house.
Oh yeah, in her basement. What? Oh yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
She has figured it out. But I think she is out of Seattle. I think. But. So anyway, syndication is where you could just hear it in multiple cities, and Bobby Bones would be the biggest example. I guess the most mainstream person you would know, and Delilah, of course. Whereas before that didn't exist. So the 87 markets, it could be more now, I'm assuming, for Bobby Bones, but it used to be 87 job openings. But within those spots was like 4 openings because you needed a morning show, right? Host, co-host, producer, your stunt guy or whatever you're going to have. And now those jobs don't exist. So as I was, in the industry longer, those jobs started to diminish. So that means you had to fight for your job more. And then obviously they wanted you to do, you now were on the radio doing a radio show. You were a blogger, a videographer, you were an influencer, you were,
parking people's cars.
You were doing everything. You were doing appearances, charity work. So you had all these multiple titles, which is great. But then they wanted all of this for nothing, basically.
Right. That's
so
a lot of hats.
And I got paid really well. Don't get me wrong. And that's probably why. I finally just kind of said peace out, because they would offer you another role, another position, another city, and on paper it looked like a promotion, but you really weren't getting that as far as salary goes.
Right.
Just
it's
this
more
market
of
size.
Like, publicity for you, really.
Yeah, and I wasn't about that, So anyway, yeah. So I think that was kind of the thing. It is cutthroat. It absolutely is cutthroat. A lot of people are okay with doing it just to feed their ego, right? Like that's enough for them. That's enough driver. But when you have a family and you've been in radio for so long, and you get to a certain financial threshold, you want to stay in that area, right? You don't want to go down. Yeah. And I felt like that's where it was going. So when I had the opportunity to kind of bounce out and start over, it was definitely a tough decision, considering it was like my love and my passion for so long. I had an opportunity to be the VP of communications for a company and still get to do a podcast, and I just felt like that was the better route to go.
So that was interesting. So what did that transition look like from radio to being the VP? Did somebody reach out to you? Was there listening?
Yeah. So somebody reached out to me. My husband actually said, hey, they have this opening. I would apply for it. So I did. And I had a 41-page portfolio with everything that I've done in my career. So all those different titles that I had actually benefited me because it got me prepped for this career. So it was definitely scary. I mean, I was like, it was terrifying to start over in a career. I mean, it was just it was terrifying.
Working your way up for so long,
yes.
and then just changing directions completely.
Yeah, and the job was actually a director of PR. So that was the original position, and everything that my portfolio had is what they needed. And it just kind of worked out, and then I got promoted to VP of communications a year later. So
wow, that's awesome.
And so do you have, because the industry is around nutrition, right? And
wellness supplements,
gut biome, right? Is that something that you were well informed about, or is that
I was actually taking the products?
You were.
I was taking the products before I accepted the job, and that's the only reason that I was even open to even looking into it at that time, because I was like, I believed in radio so much, I had to believe in the product that I was, if I was working for a company and I was going to be promoting it and talking about it and having to obviously do PR for them and protect this company, I have to believe in it, right? And so I had been, this is so disgusting, this is so gross, but the reason why I started taking the products is because I was on an antibiotic for a sinus infection, and it was like end of October. I got this horrible sinus infection. So right around, like, I think a week before Thanksgiving, they put me on an antibiotic, like a really strong antibiotic. Well, I have rheumatoid arthritis and endometriosis. I guess because of those two things, the doctor should have never put me on this antibiotic. Me being just completely oblivious, start taking the antibiotic. 5-6 days in, I start crapping my brains out. Like, I'm talking like on Thanksgiving Day, 27 bowel movements. Like, it was.
You might have just broke my record.
Yeah.
Like, it was.
And that's hard to break.
I'm a big gun around here.
Guys, it was terrifying. Like, what is going on? We had a house full of people.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had never even heard of C. diff or anything like that. So I ended up getting C. diff, which is, I guess, a common thing you get with antibiotic, but usually it happens with older people, or it happens from hospital stays. But I ended up getting it from this antibiotic, and this lasted for 7-8 months.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to say 7-8 days.
No, 7-8 months. They had to put me on another antibiotic to get rid of it. This antibiotic, it's called vancomycin, is the only antibiotic. It was actually created for patients with C. diff, but it's $700 for 2 weeks.
Yo. Whoa.
Guys, whatever you do, all of you listening, if you ever get put on an antibiotic, please do your research and make sure it does not put you in high risk for C. diff, because I don't wish this on my worst enemy. That was the worst thing.
Now, a lot of people don't know enough about antibiotics, but because I think a lot of people think there's maybe like 2 antibiotics. Is there, like, sounds like you probably did some research after. Was there a lot of antibiotics?
Yes.
Really?
There's a ton of antibiotics. And so and then again, with my autoimmune disease and things like that, it just makes me more vulnerable to something like this. But again, I had been on antibiotics on and off my entire life, so I had never had a reaction. And then boom, here I am with this awful sickness. And then now, like, basically breaking our bank account for every 2 weeks, having to be on this vancomycin antibiotic, and we have insurance, right? So like that's with insurance.
That's with insurance.
Yes.
Heroin
yes,
would be
you
cheaper
guys know,
right?
I'm not sure I know much about heroin prices, but I mean the market value is insane. Yeah, so it's super expensive. Wild. And so with that, I started taking. I was introduced to Microformulas products, their foundational protocol. And I started taking that, and I took that leading up to. This got so bad I had to get a fecal transfer.
I've heard about it.
What is that?
It is the most disgusting thing on earth. It's the most disgusting thing.
If I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's when they take a healthy fecal donor and then they encapsulate it in a pill.
No. There's no capsuling at all. This is a full-on surgery. I had a full-on surgery. And here's the thing I'm pretty pissed about as far as the doctors when they wheeled me in. St. Luke's did an incredible job. I'm not going to lie. Like they were great and things like that. I had this surgery during the right at the beginning of the pandemic. So like my husband, I had to go by myself. At this point, I had a thing called megacolon, which is super gross in itself. And so when I go in for the surgery, they wheel me in, but they didn't put me under until I was actually back in the room. They'd given me like the loopy medicine to kind of chill me out. But they get me back to the surgery room, and all I see is this pitcher, like a Kool-Aid pitcher, like a plastic Kool-Aid pitcher full of poo. Like,
oh my gosh.
I swear to God.
They
could have just hit it.
No, I know.
And it's solid.
Oh, God.
This is so...
It's traumatizing.
Did you get this done in Kazakhstan? Where'd you go?
No, I didn't know this was a thing that people had to get done.
This is a thing. And so I'm like, why?
Why would they set it right there in front of me, wheel me back for me to see this catastrophe?
You'll
never be able to forget about that.
Here's a side question for you.
It's huge.
Here's a side question.
It was like the stall.
Wait, so what did he?
Well, but
put that inside of you?
Hold on a second. Before we get there, because I want to get there. Before we get there, my question is: you hear commercials, advertisements about donating blood, donating plasma, maybe donating sperm in weird markets. I have never heard it be like, hey, come donate your
probably comes in such abundance. They don't
do
need
you have
to
healthy
ask.
poo? Bring it my way.
Bring it my way. Yeah.
But why do they do that?
So, what they, oh gosh, I'm seriously having flashbacks to that moment. I had no idea we'd talk about this. So anyway, here we go. So yeah, it's a huge pitcher and it's like basically watered down poo. And you just see it and it's big and it's gross. It's floating. It's clumpy. It's gross. And so, you know, I don't know, when you're washing your car manually in one of those like little, I don't know, like the car washes, you know, where you get out and you actually do it yourself.
Oh,
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, the scrubber.
The sprayers. Yeah. That's basically what they use. They go in through like almost like a colonoscopy style
through the rear end,
and then they just
spray it everywhere.
They spray this stuff.
Yes,
through the pitcher,
all in your deal.
Oh,
yes,
interesting. So because I've sat on some colonoscopies being at the hospital when I was working.
Wait, what you sat in?
I sat in on some colonoscopies at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
I used to work as a
for fun.
Okay.
So
I have a lot of hobbies.
Dude, this is getting so weird.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, for fun.
In my previous life, I used to be a respiratory therapist at Luke's.
And,
so
that all makes sense
a
now.
lot of times, then they'll need us is when they'll sedate somebody, put them under, and they'll go do a procedure. So if they're a critical patient, they'll put them under, and I'll have to make sure they're still breathing and not overly sedated and breathe for them if needed. They'll take this hose that's probably the size of your pinky. It's leather, and it's a super expensive scope. It's like $60,000, and it has a camera. It's controlled with a remote, right? So you can wiggle it like a snake left and right, but it also has a spray nozzle that's connected. So so I know what you're talking. So they go like that.
Yeah, they go in there and then they just spray it all over your deal and
your colon, right? That they're going.
What's the reasoning for doing that?
Because they're basically giving you good bacteria because the C. diff is just, it strips you from all your good bacteria. So now it's just like
good bacteria.
Good bacteria, bad bacteria, and all I was filled with was bad bacteria. So this good Samaritan who donated his poo.
Do you ever wonder who they were? everywhere.
I don't care.
And how do you ask for that?
Like, I am so traumatized by the pitcher full of poo that I was like, I don't even understand. And then you're thinking that's not sanitary. Like, why would they have it sitting out on the table like that?
Right.
Just with no cover. There's no lid on it. So like, there's just air particles. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Who knows? I mean, is COVID going to ruin the good particles in the poo? Like, there's so many things going through my head at this point.
Oh, for sure.
And then why does it have to be a clear pitcher? Couldn't have been like a metal pitcher, like something more like sciencey or like medically. Like, why has it got to be a plastic Kool-Aid pitcher that my mamaw has? You know,
like, quick, run to Walmart, get a pitcher. We're out.
And medical poop, it's like up. The price is up on it like tenfold, right?
Yeah.
Because you can go get saline, and you can get saline, for $10 online. But if you get saline in the hospital, that's $1,500.
And guys, it was a lot. I'm thinking a lot. They're going to be using all of this. So then they just they spray the insides to give me good bacteria, and I guess it's known to even change your mental state. Like, if say like somebody who they've done fecal exams for people who have severe depression. So it's not just like C. diff. Yeah. But they've done it for people who with severe depression, anxiety, and things like that. And I guess this good bacteria, because they always say that always it starts with your gut. It's your gut health, and it can always impact your mental health. So, but in my case, it was C. diff.
You didn't feel a difference in energy or
mental clarity? I don't need any more energy. People are like, I don't need any more.
But did you feel like you're like anything different with your mental state? No, it was just strictly that.
It was just that, and it completely changed my life. Disgusting and traumatizing in itself. But
did you notice like a instant difference,
or would you feel more full?
Maybe. Oh gosh.
I just felt fuller after I came out of the surgery.
So sick. No, I think I noticed everything was good after about 2 days.
Was your first bowel movement weird?
I can't really. I was kind of sedated a little bit, I think, the first time.
Probably good.
Yeah. Still kind of loopy. Because I was kind of in a daze because I was heavily medicated for about 2 days after, 3 days after. And then, the first one that I remember, it was like normal. It was completely normal.
I can't wait to title this podcast.
Yeah, like what are we going to title it?
This is going to be fun.
C. diff radio and lisps. Yeah. I don't know.
Poop in a pitcher. That's what we're going to call it.
Poops and pitchers and radio broadcast.
Oh man, there's a lot we could do with that.
Guys.
So is that a one-time procedure?
So unexpected. Well, in my case, it is. I hope. I mean, it's been a year, I guess. But it was a year in May. I think, yeah.
So during that time, were you taking the supplements from this company?
Oh yeah, during the whole time, and I think that's how we got on the subject. Yeah, I started taking.
Is it powder form?
Which one? Where it's a mixture of everything. So we have the capsules, we have liquids you put in your water, and then we have the powder, but that's more on our Cellcore brand, which is for our practitioners. It's our wholesale brand that you can only get this if it's monitored by the practitioner, but everything's all natural, organic. I know for me, I don't know if you guys ever like suffer from like car sickness, like nausea. I have suffered.
As I am getting older, I feel like I am. The last time we went up to McCall, which is like the windy road.
Oh yeah.
I felt like I was getting a little sick, and I'm like, oh no.
I can't get up to Bogus.
Really?
Basin.
So you get that?
I've been sick. I've been car sick my entire life. Yeah. But we have a product called Biotox. It's part of our foundational protocol, Biotox, and it has changed my life. Like I don't get car sick. I mean, I would get car sick driving. That's how bad it was, and it's been that way my whole life.
Do you guys have something for like cirrhosis? Or not cirrhosis. What is it called?
Psoriasis.
Cirrhosis is the deadening of tissue.
So
we're like 2 for 2 on a wrong naming.
So psoriasis. Oh boy, psoriasis. Yeah, that would be our kidney and liver supplement. Again, these are all part of our phases for our foundational protocol. Like there's like I think 4 steps to it. So you kind of gradually get up there. So I guess the first step is pretty mild, meaning like you just kind of feel good and energetic, and then you get into the second one where it's like the gut scrubber, and it kind of gets all that crap out of you, but a part of that, the kidney and liver, which I take all the time because I've always had skin issues. My husband has psoriasis, and it's completely. He's not had an issue with it.
All my
for
kids
2 years.
had really bad eczema.
Yeah, and our supplements are kid friendly too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my son, he takes them. So yeah, they're kid friendly. And I take them religiously every day. I kind of made my own. I've morphed my own little kit. I have like kidney and liver supplement, Inflammacom for my arthritis, Biotox for my car sickness, and just overall energy. Then we have like this this Mito. It's called Mito Restore. You put it in your water, and if you have like ADHD. You have trouble, you know, just concentrating, energy levels. That's like, that is amazing. Like it's on another level.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So do you guys have a thing where you sit down with somebody and they run over everything?
No, it's all online.
It's just pick and choose what you want.
It's all online. Yeah. But like we have kits that are put together for you. Yeah. We have the full on foundational protocol. You're good to take the whole thing. But after you do that, you can kind of pick and choose like what you want. You know, you can itemize your products.
Have you ever heard of Alpha Brain, the Onnit's supplement? I know Rogan's always pitching it, but they have the supplement company, which a lot of it's like health and wellness, not in terms of like chronic illnesses or autoimmune stuff, but it's more like along the lines of like fitness and all that jazz. But they have this lion's mane thing. It's called Onnit's, lion's mane. What did I call it? What's their thing?
Are you talking about Thorn? Is that?
No, not Thorn. Those are the. But anyway,
I remember you talking about it. I just don't remember what it's called.
But it's supposed to give you like this like concentration and retention of information, which the closest thing to that I remember ever taking was like Adderall when I had a prescription when I was a kid, and it was fantastic because for somebody who has ADD, you give them.
I had to take it for years. Yeah,
you can multitask.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it was
multitask at its finest.
Yeah, it's the greatest. I
was on it for like 15 years.
Oh my gosh, I would, man, if I could take it safely, like I would. But anyway, I bought this stuff and I thought like great. Like Rogan's always talking about how it helps him concentrate because he takes it before he announces the UFC fights. He retains all this information, and I got it, and it's dumb because like one dose is like 4 pills that are the size of those like fish oil pills, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to take 4 of those a day, and I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel any more clarity or less clarity, but I had like the weirdest dreams. Like I'd have like 20 dreams at night, and this would be like,
and you would remember.
And I would remember.
Oh,
like,
that's
like when you fall back asleep. Sometimes you'd like kind of continue the same dream you had.
Really?
But I would just have one dream,
superpower.
Another dream, third dream, fourth dream, and I'm like, how many of these can we do today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a little.
So affected you in like a different way than maybe somebody else. Yeah, the brain's an interesting thing.
I just think we need to put me on Adderall and just call it a day.
Try the
Mito Restore. Yeah, that's
Restore.
what I had. I mean, you talk about severe ADHD. I mean, I have it to the fullest extent. And
well, you have an extra letter. I only have ADD.
I have ADD.
You have that H, the hyperness.
Yeah, I do. And so the Mito Restore has, again, like I noticed a difference right away. You just put 10 drops in your water, drink it, and you're good to go.
I'd probably snort it.
Is it flavored?
No, there's no taste. There's no taste at all.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's, I mean, let's be honest, I like the hyperactive part of me. So it's like, to me, I'm like,
I do too. Yeah. I'm right there with you. I do too. And that's why I think Mito Restore, like it doesn't take away like Adderall. You're like zoned out. You're like, you're like a zombie. I know for me, I was like a zombie. But I think that's my superpower. My anxiety and my hyperness, all that I think is my superpower, right?
I agree.
And I don't want to get rid of it. It takes away my personality. My husband's like, whenever I got off of it when my son was born, right when we got pregnant, I was just kind of medication free, and my husband's like, man, it's good to have you back, kind of thing, because it just kind of numbs you out, right? Especially if you have severe ADHD, and so just feeling like myself and having my personality back, Mito Restore has been like just a complete game changer.
Interesting. Have you ever heard of coffee enemas?
Yeah, our company's actually all about it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, we've always wanted to try it, but we never did.
Think, Dr. J, who's one of our co-founders, he actually, I think there's a whole video and blog about like the step-by-step process and why they're so amazing. But
that's
our company's all about it.
Yourself. That's something you have to go to a place, right?
I would think so.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
watch the video.
I've seen. Yeah, I've heard of people doing it themselves from at home.
Is there like a kit?
we don't sell the kits. We don't sell the coffee enema kits, but I have heard of people doing them from home, but I don't know as far as safety levels go.
Yeah.
Well, and I heard, the reason I heard it was somebody was talking about, kind of like we started about, there's a lot of, there's a tie between the gut biome and mental health. Like, I've heard of a lot of these psychiatrists who would say some of the worst clients or patients they have who are like on the verge of getting institutionalized. Yeah, they would go to this lady, and she's like all natural, practitioner of, I don't know what her science is, but they would first change their diet. Like they would get rid of any inflammatory markers of food, you know, your cheeses, your tomatoes, everything that you can.
Yeah.
And then they would put them on like the strict regimen, regular regimen of coffee enemas. And it's supposed to like break down a lot of the stuff that's not being absorbed through your colon out.
Yep. And that's what our foundational protocol does too.
Really?
And that's what I hear with the coffee enemas is you don't just do it like once. It's something you have to keep doing over and over, right?
Yeah, totally.
We're gonna have to get more Black Rifle coffees.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I watched I guess those who do it by themselves. It was on My Strange Addiction on like TLC or something. Like this couple was actually addicted to doing coffee enemas, and they would just do them at home.
Are they just like addicted to like
the feeling?
Nutrition?
I was gonna say the feeling.
I bet that husband's got a secret that he's not telling his wife.
There's probably other things they can do.
I mean, but they'd go in the bathroom and lay next to each other and stare at each other.
Okay, let's not do that.
Definitely weird.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't recommend anybody doing that, but I'm saying that I was trying to think, okay, where did I see that? I'm like, oh yeah, it was My Strange Addiction.
That's hilarious.
On, I think it was TLC, and this couple, they did it religiously. I think multiple times a day.
Oh my, that's such a weird thing. Like, hey, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Let's
go.
Like just staring somebody in the eyes as you're like doing a coffee enema. Like that's not romantic.
And what goes up must come down. So you're
how could you find that person attractive after watching that go down? I just don't know.
There's somebody out there for
people
everybody.
We just added another layer to our title.
This is great. This is fantastic.
We just totally added another
layer.
This
is definitely the poop talk.
So how did the podcast come about after? Did it come about after you went to Microbe?
So it's so funny that I actually did not want to do the podcast when I started with Microbe formulas.
Just microbe.
Microbe, yeah. No, I get it. So when I started with Microbe, the podcast was actually called True Detox. And it was like this deep dive into science and things like that. And I'm like, whoa. That's not happening, because when I started my position, the CEO was like, and you're going to take over the podcast and you're going to do this. And I'm like, if it's True Detox and we're doing all this deep dive sciencey stuff, I'm not a doctor. It's not my comfort level. Right. It would just be a disaster. Because, I was like, then I started spiraling into this anxiety thing. I'm like, I won't be able to do that. I'm not sciencey. I was like, because this one time I did play-by-play at bull riding and I said this bull had huge nuts. And then I just started spiraling. I was saying this on the microphone. I was like, so could you imagine me doing science? And the CEO looked at me and was like, okay, fine, like what?
Just kidding.
So,
this bull had
I had to do play-by-play at a bull ride at the Cold All Night Rodeo.
Oh yeah,
for the radio station. I'm like, no. And I go, what do you want me to say? They're like, oh, just kind of do commentary.
What's going on? Yeah.
And they told me like, hey, this bull has big nuts, and I'm like. This bull has big nuts, and they're like, Shawnda, it's a family event. I'm like, dang it, sorry, what do we say? Like, I have no idea what to say here. Like, I have no idea.
Was there terminology that they prefer you use?
No, like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? This is what happens when you don't prep me for it, right? So I'm having flashbacks.
I would lose my mind. I feel like if I wasn't prepped.
Yeah. So they're like telling me to do this sciencey podcast, and I'm like having flashbacks to this bull has big nuts, and I'm like, this is not good. I know where this will go. I'll all of a sudden like ruin everybody's lives by like saying stuff that doesn't matter or saying something wrong, and then somebody will go home and try it, and then I've just screwed everything up, right? So this is my anxiety spiraling. Well, it turns out True Detox, there was some type of I guess there was like another, I don't know if it was a podcast, but something was called True Detox. Long story short, we had to change the name of it, and that kind of saved me. And they said, hey, you can revamp, rebrand, whatever would fit you. And so then we just, I kind of sat down, and that's how Intentionally Disruptive came about, because originally it was going to be True Detox, and they were like, Shawnda, you got to do this. I'm like, no. And so I had that opportunity to completely make it my own. That's what I did.
Is it your podcast? Or
it is mine.
So if you, for whatever reason, either retire from Microbe or you just decide to go somewhere else, is this your podcast you get to keep?
So no, there's been talks about it. I mean, like it's mine. I mean, I created it from start to finish along with a great team. I mean, oh my gosh, our team is incredible. We all work for Microbe Formulas. But we all spend this extra time on this passion project, right? So like we have Michaela, who does all of our design. She's designed the studio. Mm-hmm. She does all of our graphic design for social media. Then we have Jessie, who does social media. She does social media for all of our Microbe channels and brands. Rachel, who's assistant producer. Kaylee does research for us. I mean, like we just, this is all extra on top of our full-time jobs, right? And so we just really, really work so hard. And you guys know, doing a podcast, it's
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I mean, it takes a village for sure. So there has been talks about it being mine, till the end of time, right? Yeah. If something were to happen, but I kind of take ownership of it because of my name's on it, and it's my creation, and down to the series and down to the guests and the and how it's formatted, how it's produced. I do all of it.
So you get to like choose everything.
Everything. I have everything. We actually met this morning. We have a meeting every Friday at 9 a.m. And it's a lot of work, but it's so fun. I think it's fun just because we have complete control over it, right? Yeah. And the team and I are just so much on the same page from start to finish about how it should go and what should what should happen. And we're still growing, right? We've existed for less than a year. And we have, a little over, 500,000 downloads in less than a year. So we're pretty excited really for that. Impressive. Yeah. We're really excited.
That's impressive. There's something to be said about, last week's episode that's going to come out next week, we had one of our YouTube buddies, Mike Montgomery from Modern Builds. We were just talking about, we always talk about content creation, right? We create content for Facebook, for Instagram, for TikTok, for YouTube, for podcast. And one thing that we realized, like once you get into that lane of just creating content, you can never not create content. Yeah. But also there's something like that makes you really happy about creating something, putting it out, and it's yours.
It's exactly. You
and
see
watching
the finished product
come up, right?
Yeah, and you see the finished product. I think that's the biggest thing with us. All of us, we like to see what that looks like, right? And the fact that we have complete ownership. We can't, if something goes wrong, we can't blame anybody but ourselves, right? And then the content, you guys know, it never ends. It never ends. You're constantly in that mindset of what can I do next? What can we do to be better? How can we improve this? And so I think the fact that all of us, and we have nobody telling us no, right? So that's another great thing, right? Like nobody could tell us no. And I guess they could, but they don't. And so just to see the finished product is incredible.
Yeah. You guys have a great team there too.
We do. We have the best team.
Really organized.
Super organized.
Yeah, I loved it.
The
studio was awesome.
Especially whenever there's any time a shift from working for somebody and then working for yourself in whatever aspect, even if it's just creating content. It's like watching it grow is like watching your own kids grow up.
It's like the freedom to thrive. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I keep hearing all these like horror stories about people who have a lot of talent, like either a radio personality or somebody who just has a really good chemistry. And people would pitch them, producers would pitch them to create a podcast and like, hey, we'll do everything for you. But then they sign on the dotted line that it's not theirs. Yeah. And so though they can have all the creative freedom, there's somebody out there who's going to say, hey, we're not going to do that, or we're going to do this, or you can't keep this, or you're going to have that, or
well, so and you brought up a good point, because even though this is my podcast per se, I mean, I don't own it technically, but maybe one day there has been some conversations about that. I still have to always remind myself that I'm representing a company. I'm representing Microbe Formulas. And I have to be respectful of the owners. I'm very close with them, and our CEO and the founders. So
is this a local brand?
It is Meridian. Okay. Yeah. It's all in Meridian. It was built here. Everything. Our labs here. Everything's here. Yeah. Oh, awesome. And so I had to be respectful. Now, you guys know, we've had to, I think whenever you both were on my podcast, we had to bleep out some stuff. We had to bleep out some conversations.
You were telling me about penis pictures that you get. Penis pictures that you get, and we'll talk about this. And I get feet pictures.
Feet pictures, yes.
Or requested feet pictures.
Yes. So like I had to bleep out some things, whereas like if it was technically mine, there'd be no bleeping, right? Like it would just be a warning on the episode, like hey, right, not for everyone, and so that's the big difference. Like I can't be full on 100,000% myself. Just like a side of
I feel like that's, I mean,
you have that.
I have that for sure. I'm always like family friendly. We gotta like cater to everybody. Make sure we don't say anything like
she'll put
that's
wine
gonna offend
in
anybody.
A coffee cup. She's like, well,
I
was like, who cares?
This is real coffee.
I would totally just have my wine glass out, and I would just talk, and then maybe just let's see where things go, and then if it ends up being one of those episodes where we do have just the conversation goes south in a good way, just put a little warning on that episode. But mostly I would want it to be for anyone to listen to, but there are going to be some times where this is fun to just not have any filter,
right? Yeah, you would love that.
Well, I still do that. I don't have a filter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in my space because we have like a community of us, and we do events and conferences and all that stuff, and we share information, what's working for us, what's the best way to work for brands, and a lot of us share the brands that we work with. And it's funny because like I could tell that a lot of people in my space, they try to present themselves a little bit different, you know, when you invite them to a podcast and stuff, because somehow maybe they're afraid that what if a brand hears it and they don't like it. But the reality, that's not there. Like when brands hire you, like I have exclusive brands and I have short-term brands. And like end of the day, like I remember the last brand I signed with, and they're great. I'm still with them, but they're like, hey, so we noticed you post like Second Amendment stuff and gun pictures and stuff like that. Like, is that something that you anticipate to continue? And I was like, yeah.
I remember you and I talked about this whenever you were on my podcast.
I was like, it's just kind of like part of my branding and the audience that I'm with. And I'll have people ask me educational stuff and, you know, first time gun owners. Like, it's kind of what I am. And you're kind of hiring me or signing me on for me, really.
Right.
And so, but for me to put a damper, I was like, I'll never speak ill of you and I will never speak better about a competitor brand. But in the meantime, let me be me, specifically if it's on a different platform. Too. Right.
Totally. So. Yeah, no, I do, you know, with radio. I mean, I was an endorser for Oprah and Walgreens and all these big brands, and that was always a thing. Like I was just myself, right? I mean, with radio, you have to deal with the FCC, so I can't just drop an F-bomb or anything like that. But I was, I used to do a thing called the Boner Report. It's so random. I know.
What was it? I need to know.
I changed it up. And so I'm like,
right after the bull riding.
I'm like, is Oprah really going to dig the Boner Report? I don't know. No, gosh. But this was after, I think I may have been endorsing Walgreens at the time, but yeah, the Boner Report, it was just finding crazy images on the internet where your boner would get out of control, like whether it be a movie, whether it be, you know, like an eighth grade, you know, I don't know, eighth grade dance. Who would do
this research, you or somebody else?
Our research team for the, it was so dumb. We did animal boner report. Like it was just so stupid, guys. It was the dumbest thing. I mean, you could tell that we were like really stretching it for content, but it's just stupid stuff. Like it's like, what was I thinking?
I've learned recently the concept of a dad boner, and when a dad boner, it's nothing. It's nothing what you think it is.
It's not anything to do with that.
It's nothing. What a dad boner is like, and I started realizing this is like when you become older, you start realizing that when you're younger, you don't pay attention to little things in life, right? The beauty or whatever of nature. And when you get older, when you start kind of stepping back and go like, oh my, look at that rainstorm. And you get excited about the rain.
Oh,
look at that. Or a sunset and you pull over and you take a picture. That's called having a dad boner.
Dad boner, got it.
Look at those turtles. They are just, look how close
it's like
they're
things
swimming.
that dads are excited about.
I'm gonna make a note of this.
That's a dad boner.
That's like my husband.
Yeah, that's a dad boner.
Oh, Dave, you just had a dad boner.
You get a new car and you're like, how comfortable.
El Camino, look at that.
Yeah. How comfortable. Like when you start talking about things like, you know, comfort, you know, these jeans are stretchy and comfortable and I just can't get enough of them. That's
so that would have been a great angle for the boner report then. Instead of actually going full on boner, like talking about boners, it would have been great to have that angle back then, because that was like, oh my gosh, 10 years ago.
Oh, you know, that's hilarious.
Before I grew up and before I, you know, became an adult.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
What's one of your favorite or most interesting guests? Or one of your favorite guests on your podcast?
On the podcast, well, I had one recently. Well, besides you two, of course,
not including.
But there was I had a guest on. Her name was Bronwyn. And she basically is an actress, and she is into film, and she was I guess hired to play a part at the penitentiary, the Idaho penitentiary. She's playing the part of a former inmate named Lyda. She's like the first serial killer, like first known female serial killer back in like the early 1900s. And Bronwyn, like when she got the part, they gave her a paragraph to basically describe this former inmate, and that wasn't good enough for her. She's like, how can I kind of I guess translate or get this woman's story across with a paragraph? So I'm going to dive in and learn more about her. Guys, she brought in like binders and books and things like that of like this woman's life basically, and anyway, and almost like proved her innocence.
Whoa.
And so like based off all this research that she has done, and like I mean, she pulled all the court documents, everything. And I thought that was so interesting, like that. And I think that's
true
probably
crime.
Yeah, I think it's like stuck in my head just because it was recent.
Interesting.
And but it just blew my mind how far she went, not only to learn who this woman was, but also in her research, basically proving that she was innocent. Yeah. So I think that was probably the most interesting guest podcast.
Yeah,
it's just different. It's caught me off guard.
Yeah. Well, that's so right up your alley for this like murder mystery
I love
thing.
true crime.
Me too.
This is the reason why she's afraid when I'm out of town on a trip or something. I think
of all the
things. She's like, people are going to be breaking in between these 3 days.
Yes, I know this because
I'm like student of the ID channel. Like there's one like ID channel. Like I'm obsessed with all the different shows. One I cannot watch is Deadly Women. It just freaks me out. Don't do it to yourself.
The thing is, I can't watch because the images would stay in my mind and I wouldn't be able to sleep. But I like listening to true crime podcasts because then it doesn't like, I just like kind of my imagination do the work. And so I'm not seeing like the visuals of the things.
I'm a dummy and I see it. I watch it. I see it. And I hold it on. I think
it's the only way I can like still love it, but not. Yeah. I've seen a couple of the ones on like Netflix, serial killer ones, and like the
Ted Bundy tapes.
Yes,
that was insane.
Yeah,
this has to be like a mom boner.
Yeah, this is a
mom boner for sure.
If we had wine, it would just top it off. That'd be a double mommy wine.
Have you
boner.
heard Crime Junkies? Probably
yes,
one of my favorites. They're like always in the top 5. For their episodes, but I love it because it's like you listen to one episode for that like. They do one story per episode, and I love that because it's like you can wrap it up versus listening to like a series where you're like, where did I leave off again? Okay.
Well, then, but it messes you up. I know
it
for me,
mess you up.
It messes you up because I mean, I'll watch the stuff, but then like my husband randomly, he gave me a folder like, hey, can you make sure you sign those documents? And I open the folder and it's like he upped my life insurance. I'm like, what the
Excuse
fuck?
me.
I go, oh my gosh, I'm connecting it to everything that I just watched.
Now he's gonna kill me.
He's gonna kill me. He's been behind, like he's been like lurking in the shadows, watching all these tips and tricks on my ID channel episode. He's gonna kill me. This is it.
I get those.
So you're like having him eat the food before you eat it.
Oh my
totally in your head. Yes. Yeah, like you upped my insurance by like 100,000. Like that's a big jump.
Yeah. Was yours like that too?
I was like, where's yours?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Totally. I feel like I am a little bit of both. I'm a little bit more paranoid, but I also feel like sometimes it's a good thing because now I'm not as just like blind to things.
Yeah. But then I sometimes wish I would go back to like just the
being more ignorant.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I'll be driving and I'm like alone and it's dark. I'm like, I'm not getting out to fill my car. No way.
No way.
Not after that episode I listened to.
I'll be driving on fumes. Absolutely.
I'm gonna have Alex come get me when I run out of gas.
You want to give me a mom boner? Pump my gas. That's an extra mom boner. Get out and pump my gas.
That is extra. That's a double-sided boner. Oh man.
How many times have we said boner?
Boner is something else.
Opportunity missed. We need a bell every time we say boner. Ding.
Oh, yeah.
Boner ding. That's a boner bell. The boner bell.
I want to count how many times these are big balls of
boner bell.
Then we need a poop bell.
Yes.
Boner and poop. This has been an interesting episode.
This has to be one of the most funnest episodes. Rich got a competition to him on his.
Who's this guy in the studio with us? So just
this is Kyle. He makes all the magic happen around here.
Yeah, and all the magic. He's like, this is magic. This is just.
He might kill us later. I don't know.
This is just stupidity.
Yeah, I made him sign paperwork so he can't sue us for anything
we said.
He never signed his.
Oh gosh, yeah, we need a boner bell.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure Etsy would make one.
Oh man, this is good.
Probably. You can make it like a custom engraved.
Yes.
Well, I remember I was a kid. I worked at this like auto repair shop, and some gal dropped off for BMW, and like the drink cup had a straw that was like a penis shape on top. I was like,
you can get anything made.
Penis shape.
Why do you guys say that so confidently?
Because you can.
You guys done
I was just on Etsy.
I
was just on Etsy for sure, and they have there's homemade everything.
Yes.
With penis.
You can like get it. You can just request.
You can get a crocheted pillow. I mean, you can get anything, anything you want.
And you guys are the purchase of it because like I don't know any of the guys that go like, hey man, I bought a penis straw or a
it's always a girl that.
No, I don't think those really exist.
Well, there's vagina suits that they had during the parades or the marches that they had.
Oh, really?
Well, some of the
what is it that Allie was telling us about her husband accidentally Googled something and it was the wrong thing.
Oh, I don't remember what the word was, but
I don't remember the word, but it was like something you put on that is
Like,
you know what it is? You know what it is for anybody who is cross-dressing or transitioning, and they still have, and let's say it's a male who's transitioning to be a female, but the surgery has not been done on their sex organ. It's a thing that like tucks it in, but also creates the outside to be a vagina. Like at least
like
a silhouette.
Strap.
A silhouette.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just like a fancier way to tuck it in, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
But it's called anyway.
There's a name for it, but it's a very like a professional name. You're like, I should Google that.
They're really stepping up their
You
game.
can just buy it on Amazon too.
Really? Yeah. You're thinking about the things that Googling. Never Google grandmas at a party.
Grandmas at a party.
Grandmas at a party.
Why?
I was making a card for my mamaw and her girlfriends. They go to lunch every month, and I was trying to find some images to throw into Canva to make their invites for their monthly lunch for. And so I wanted to get like but grandma's at a party because there's no images of them together. So I was going to try to like create that first one, but use like the what was it called, the stock footage or stock photo before.
Yeah.
Guys,
I was Googling grandmas at a party.
Don't Google grandmas at a party, Kyle. Don't do it, man. I'm telling you, you will get a virus. You will get a virus. But as soon as you said Googling, I'm like, oh my gosh, don't ever Google grandmas at a party, because it just happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and it was not.
Some wild images.
It's grandmas
taking it to the next level.
Yeah, they're extra.
Jeez.
They're all kinds of extra. Yeah, don't ever do it.
You can't unsee that.
Just like those couples.
And I did it at work. On top of it with my team in the room. We were having a meeting. I'm like, I gotta make this invitation. Yeah. And anyways, it popped up. I'm like, what are you looking at? Yeah.
Well, that's why I said that, because we have a friend who, was it him or his boss, Googled this one thing that they wear as linemen.
As what?
And that's what popped up. They're linemen, so
there's a lineman school
that go up
off
the
of
pole.
Marine Road. They put on telephone poles.
They're called linemen.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, there's a school, and so one of the professors,
they have these things that go over their boots to help them climb these poles.
Anyway,
right?
So he was Googling that, and that is what came up.
In his class, as he's teaching class.
Oh man.
Circling back to that. Are we gonna Google it?
Yeah. Lineman.
What are they called?
Yeah.
Text him. Anyway, speaking of like
things you don't
accidentally Googling and then having everybody else, he's like, oh, that was not what I was searching for.
Yeah, grandma's at a party will get you fired and get you a virus at the work computer.
That's funny.
My computer's never been the same.
I think
pretty
it's called
slow.
GAFS. GAFFS.
That's interesting. That could be such different things.
Yeah.
I know. Are two very different things.
Who's Googling that? Why?
And what he said is, because if you put it, okay.
We
have a poltergeist here.
Yeah, that was a ghost.
Let's see here. If you go on Amazon, so if you Google it if you just Google it, it's called GAFs, and it's these things that go over like kind of like a bull riding thing.
But if you Google on Amazon,
underwear. So here you go.
Let's see this.
Don't sue me, but if there are a pair of panties that look like it, that makes a silhouette of a vagina.
And you can pick, and you can actually pick the shape.
Interesting. Small, medium, or large, or 3X.
Yeah.
Or is that the underwear size?
Well,
or is that the?
That's
it maybe could be.
All I know is I have a good return policy. So, GAFs.
But there's no free return on this.
Right.
Yeah, no.
No free return, once it comes out of the package.
Interesting.
Yeah, GAFs.
Wow.
But if you type in GAFs on Google, there's these like leather things that go over your boot to help you climb.
Amazon's like, that's not what it is.
But you know what? $17 is a steal.
That is a steal, but there's no return in case it doesn't fit or it's not the shape that you want.
You have to buy
that's kind of a bummer. But I'm so glad that they're stepping it up for everyone. Stepping up their game, guys.
Yeah, inclusion. It's very important. All right.
Definitely.
Where do we go from GAFs?
Well, we can't.
Do we just wrap it up?
I think it's a safe place to wrap it up, just to let people soak that in.
Guys.
We've really gone like full circle.
Above and beyond
today.
Above and beyond.
This is great.
Beautiful.
This is exactly what Next Door Neighbors is about.
It is what Next Door Neighbors would talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly.
Ms. Shawnda McNeal, thank you so much for coming. Tell
thank
people
you guys
where they can
so
find you.
So you can follow us on Instagram at Intentionally Disruptive. Also intentionallydisruptive.com. We're on there as well.
There's our vocal lessons kicking in right there.
Look at that. It was
like,
there we go. Intentionally Disruptive. And we're done. Vocal lessons. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Yes, guys.
Thank you. It was so great.
So much fun.
Bye.
Bye.